Welcome back to This Day in Irish History. I'm your host, Raymond Welsh. Today we turn our attention to a tragic and defining moment in modern Irish history, January 30th, 1972. This is the day that would come to be known as Bloody Sunday, when British soldiers opened fire on civil rights demonstrators in the Bogside area of Derry, killing 13 people outright and wounding 15 others, one of whom later died from his injuries. The events of that day are burned into the collective memory of the people of Ireland, both North and South. The march had been organised by the Northern Ireland Civil Rights Association, the CRA, to protest the policy of internment without trial, which had been introduced by the British government the previous year as a means of suppressing the growing unrest in Northern Ireland. Internment had overwhelmingly targeted the nationalist and Catholic population, further deepening the divisions between the communities. Despite a government ban on marches, thousands gathered in Derry that afternoon to voice their opposition. The march began peacefully, with men, women, and children walking through the city, waving banners and chanting slogans. However, as the march reached the edge of the Bogside, British paratroopers moved in, and what happened next would send shockwaves around the world. Members of the 1st Battalion Parachute Regiment, a unit with a fearsome reputation, were deployed to break up the march. Shortly after clashes began between some demonstrators and the soldiers, the paratroopers opened fire. Within a matter of minutes, 13 unarmed civilians lay dead on the streets of Derry. Many of them were shot in the back while attempting to flee. Others were shot while trying to help the wounded. The British government initially defended the actions of the soldiers, claiming they had come under fire from IRA gunmen. However, eyewitnesses, journalists, and even Catholic priests who were present all testified that the victims had been unarmed. Bloody Sunday ignited outrage across Ireland and beyond. In Dublin, the British embassy was burned down in protest. In the immediate aftermath, the British government launched an inquiry, the Widgery Tribunal, which quickly exonerated the soldiers and reinforced the official narrative that they had been responding to a threat. This whitewash only deepened the anger in nationalist communities, further fueling the conflict that became known as the Troubles. Bloody Sunday became a rallying cry for the Provisional IRA, leading to a surge in recruitment and escalating the cycle of violence. It would take nearly 4 decades for the truth to be officially acknowledged. In 2010, the findings of the Saville Inquiry were finally released. Unlike Widgery, this report concluded that the victims had posed no threat, that the soldiers' actions were unjustified, and that some had knowingly shot fleeing civilians. Then British Prime Minister David Cameron issued a formal apology, calling the events of Bloody Sunday unjustified and unjustifiable. But for the families of those who lost their lives, justice remains elusive. While one former soldier was charged in connection with 2 of the deaths, his case was later discontinued. To this day, the wounds of Bloody Sunday remain fresh in Derry, a city forever marked by the violence of that tragic day. Thank you for joining us on this journey through history. Please like, subscribe, and tune in tomorrow for another enlightening episode of This Day in Irish History. I'm Raymond Welsh. Slán go fáil.